reservations in the Western Hemisphere. But the rest of the world also has more of a life expectancy, except for 8 countries in Africa. So now, that's another. Our women, their life expectancy is 47 years. In the 1970s, for four years, the United States Congress and the Department of Health and Human Services, then it was called something else, but the predecessor to the Department of Health and Human Services of the United States government, they embarked on a sterilization program of our women. 42% of our women were sterilized in a 4-year period. They massacred our unborn. And this was done under a Republican president, but with a Democratic Congress. Now you see, in the United States of America, we live on a reservation. Our ultimate boss is communism. The Congress of the United States has total, absolute power over every single Indian person living on a reservation. The Supreme Court is subordinate to the Congress when it comes to Indian affairs, and so is the executive branch. Now, all the diseases are epidemic on our reservation. In fact, there are 2 of them that have come back that are unknown in the rest of America. It's polio and tuberculosis. But every disease, from venereal disease to diabetes, heart, cancer, epidemic, abuse, self-abuse, familial abuse, all types of abuse is also epidemic on the reservation. Over 40% dropout rate in junior high. And over 60% dropout rate, the remainder in high school. Imagine that statistic. When in the 1960s we were found out, because of Bureau of Indian Affairs help, that we were the 2nd largest ethnic-wise. Only the Jewish people put more people in college than the Indians from the reservation. So they cut out the scholarships. It was 1969. When the United States government found out that we were sending the 2nd largest ethnic group in America, sending people to college, they cut it off. I think it's Senator Abarisk to get a moratorium passed in 1978, a moratorium against the sterilization of our women. Since World War II, this horrendous statistic has remained constant. 1 out of every 4 Indian child born in America is fostered or adopted out to a non-Indian home. The state government is in compliance with the pharmaceutical companies that are practicing their drugs on our children. They come to families and they will choose 1 out of a dozen kids, or 1 out of 6 or 7 kids, or 1 out of 3 or 4 kids, and take them away. The state government. Some of them go to homes, but they claim that the parents are incapable of adequately taking care of that child. What about the rest of the children? But they don't take them away. And then we never see or hear of them again. They refuse to tell us where they send them. The grandparents, their grandchildren are snatched from them. It's a horror that we live with daily. And our tribal courts, designed by the United States government, these are colonial auspices. They don't protect our children, our own children. The tribal courts, they will not fight against the state. And there is There is a project in Hot Springs, South Dakota, the Lakota Law Project in Hot Springs, South Dakota. Check it out. I believe it has a website. It has a telephone. It has an office. They're now gathering the evidence to sue the state of South Dakota for all the theft of Indian children. Now, besides that statistic and others, the most worrisome one for me personally is the loss of our language. The average fluent Lakota speaker, this is in our entire nation, not just in the Republic of Lakota, but in our entire nation, is 65 years of age. Linguists have ascertained that in 10 to 20 years, our language absolutely disappeared. And that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. You know, for 80 years and more, we were forced into the boarding schools, militarily judged, militarily run. Corporal punishment was manifest. The horrors, sexual abuse, beatings, and yes, disappearance of Indian children. You can imagine the horrors of that history. But it's all known in America, of course, or in the world. But Canada has been exposed for the same policies. So if you know anything about Indigenous people, just look to Canada for the results of what happened to us also in the United States, even on a grander scale. I can go on with a litany of all these deprivations perpetuated on my people for generations. When it comes to, it spells one thing: genocide. Genocide and extermination. My people are going to disappear. Once we lose our language, understand what that means. We lose connection with the earth. We lose connection with who we are, with our ancestors, with everything that makes us a distinct, matriarchal-based people. It's the worst possible thing that can happen to any people. Ask the black African survivor of slavery. We don't want to become disconnected with who we are. Our ancestors are worthy of remaining within us. So we have to become a free country. You know, it can better be explained on the republicoflakota.com. Check it out. But this election we're having in November, it has real meaning for the international community, for you. It's our plebiscite, our referendum, telling the world how many of us, just on one reservation, out of the 7, one that wants to be free. And then you can judge the rest of our people by us, the Oglala. I want you to understand how important this is to us. So I need your help. I'm running a platform of freedom. We already have a provisional government.